This podcast is produced by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast, focuses on inspiring you through stories of those we've helped through our programming or by linking local resources to community members in need. Join us as we learn about the programs offered through NMCAA and how we touch people's lives every day. Welcome back to a special edition of The Collective Us. I'm Erica Austin, and this is my co-host, Ryan Buck. How are you, Ryan?
I am wonderful. Thanks for asking. Before we started recording, we were talking about how lucky we are to be in a place that's so exciting to live.
Yes, and the weather, of course, too, and...
Yeah, that plays into it. And it plays into a lot of things that NMCAA does, which is super cool. As you mentioned, it is a very special edition of the show because today we have back in the studio a very special guest. Welcome back, Kerry Baughman, Executive Director of NMCAA.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to see you, Ryan, and hello, Erica. Hello. I'm happy to be back here after being on the first podcast a couple of months ago. So excited to try it again.
That's right,
the first. And now I think we were saying this was maybe 19 or 20. 19, so you guys are way further down this path than I am, but I'm really glad to be back.
That's wonderful.
Thanks for being here. So that's right. We have a great show lined up today. You may have noticed today's podcast title is NMCAA by the Numbers. And that's because today we are going to share NMCAA's impact data from 2023 while also recognizing National Poverty in America Month. You may even hear some exciting new things about NMCAA in the process. If you are aware of NMCAA, you know the good we do in the community every day. So I want to take a moment to remind our listeners that community action agencies across the nation were created after President Lyndon Johnson declared an unconditional war on poverty to relieve, cure, and prevent it. January is Poverty in America Awareness Month, and while the U.S. may be a developed nation and one of the greatest countries in the world, there are still thousands of people who are struggling to make ends meet and put food on the table. You can help fight poverty in America by donating and or spreading awareness. You can donate to Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency at nmcaa.net or by calling 231-947-3780 for more information. You can also help spread awareness by sharing this podcast or any of our social media posts.
Thanks for that. With all that being said, we know NMCAA is working every day to combat poverty through its programming and services. So, Kerry, starting off, what are some key things NMCAA does in general to help push this initiative combating poverty forward?
Well, that's a big question, and it really is the essence of what we are all about. I could go into specific programs because we have so many, and, that is the target of those programs, is to alleviate the causes and conditions of poverty to help people become self-sufficient. But I don't think any particular program or culmination of programs really represents an answer to your question. I really think it is about being grounded in the community and listening to the needs and the residents of the community, and then responding to those needs, both through advocacy for bringing programs to the area that are needed by folks, sharing barriers to progress with state and federal funders, with legislators, with policymakers, so that the things that are enacted to support families actually can maximize the intent. And then finally, I think the most important thing that we do has to do with who we are in the community and who we are interacting with the people that live in the community. We want to be that person that someone feels comfortable with to reach out and ask a question. Oftentimes, it might be a difficult situation. And so to be a trusted partner in the community, I think, is the first step and the key step to actually having impact.
That is so interesting. A lot of words continue to come up consistently on the show. Community, listening. That's extraordinary.
Yeah. So let's dive into some of the numbers. We're going to start off with one of our biggest departments. Biggest meaning people know it, and also that there are a lot of employees within it. So you're very familiar with this, Kerry. It's Child and Family Development. And the programs within Child and Family Development include Early Head Start, GSRP, which we now know is Great Start to Readiness Program. And our newest program is the School Success Partnership Program. All of these share a common thread, creating a foundation for a bright educational future. So in 2023, NMCAA served 1,104 families and children through the Early Head Start, and GSRP programs. Can you tell us about how these classrooms make an impact on families, and how does this push us as a community forward to a better future?
Well, I look forward to the annual report every year. Our fiscal year is October 1 through September 30th. So each year we're producing this report at different times with Erica on board. We're in January talking about it, which is super exciting to be here and poised to respond to the impact of last year this quickly. So, yeah, starting off with our early childhood department, and you mentioned familiarity with that on my part, having sort of come into the organization through the Early Head Start program and home visiting and through the child development director position. And so it is the largest program that we have in the organization. And as you said, we serve over 1,000 families. And how does this impact? Well, I think, first of all, the programs are focused on the family and supporting the family, recognizing that that's the core relationship for a child. So there are certainly important aspects of the program centered around child education, whether it's in a 3 to 5-year-old preschool classroom, one of our 4-year-old state-funded GSRP classrooms, or through the home visiting relationship with a caregiver, helping them understand and cheerlead for all the things that they're doing for their child to say, hey, when you do that, your child responds. Did you see that? And just sort of acknowledging the things that they're already doing and, of course, sharing information. So I think the impact through our early childhood programs is often something that's a ripple effect. It's something that in the moment we recognize the relationship, but all of the fruits that come from the relationship sometimes come further down the lane. It'll come later on for families and for children. And, we say oftentimes in our work with families, they are the families that transitioning into the K-12 system will be, the PTA presidents and be highly involved because they're used to that connectivity with the educational experience and understand, the critical importance of the entire family in the education process. So I think in terms of impact, there are so many different things we can talk about. We can talk about the comprehensive nature, understanding that physical and dental and behavioral needs impact learning. The two things that come to mind, comprehensiveness and then just being family-centered and recognizing the whole family as a part of the program. Yeah. So I'm excited for those numbers, just commenting on what you just mentioned. Yeah. That's a lot of families in our 10-county region and a lot of ripples in future years. Yeah.
That's incredible. It brings up past episodes talking about home visits and how personal it can get. And it strikes me as you're giving also great examples in families of what giving looks like from a young age. You have members of the family who may not be affected by what's happening, but they're seeing examples of giving and they're seeing examples of their family reaching out, which I think is really exceptional.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make in that even if a 3-year-old child in a family is enrolled in the program, siblings benefit and extended family benefits. They're visiting, they see what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does. It affects the entire family beyond just the household. And if I could, I think when we look at the numbers, it's the stories that really make them come alive. And you mentioned home visiting. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just read, as a part of our annual report, we like to include statements from parents. And this is from a parent of an early Head Start child. Mm-hmm. And it kind of gets to the point that you were just focusing on about the impact on the entire family. So this quote says, I learned a lot from this program, how and where my child excels and where he needs some further support. His social skills have already increased, and he's great now with sharing and paying attention to other children around him and aware of his surroundings. If he didn't have this program, I think he would not know how to share or interact with other kids. I've learned that everything is teaching and growing, and that's what I like so much about that quote. Yeah. I've learned that everything is teaching and growing. Every experience, going to the grocery store, diaper changing, everything is learning and growing. And I think that's the main message.
Yeah. Somebody on one of the episodes, mentioned that even in changing the diapers is, learning. And I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry, I can't recall. But I kind of thought about that, as a parent, like, oh, yeah, You're right. It is, because I'm talking to them and I'm changing your diaper right now. Hold on, we got to wipe now. Just the talking and the interaction and the face to face. So
Yeah, it's incredible.
yeah.
We've talked about wraparound services often on the show, and one of the coolest things about these programs is that they're also providing referrals and connections to other resources for these children and their families, including emergency and crisis intervention, housing assistance, mental health services, education on medical and oral health, education on nutrition. The School Success Partnership also falls under the Child and Family Department umbrella and is new to NMCAA. Can you tell us a few of the highlights from this program in its rookie year, let's say?
Sure. Yeah, we're really excited about this sort of addition to our comprehensive child and family department and think it's a really, really wonderful program that right now we're piloting in a few TCAPS elementary schools. The program has been developed over the course of, I think, almost 30 years with our sister organization on the east side, NMCAA, Northeast Michigan Community Services.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We like those on this show. We can add that to the list.
List of acronyms.
And so, we are able, in partnership and support with NMCAA, to pilot this program. And the crux of the program is that it addresses a variety of issues that affect schools' performance and create barriers to academic success, such as attendance issues or if a child's family is going through a divorce process. So the School Success Partnership Liaison is someone located in the school. They're not a counselor, but they're a support person to help a child during the course of the day who needs to address attendance issues and to work with the family. So again, it really mirrors what we do in our other programs in talking to the family and reaching out and visiting the home and better understanding what can be done in the school setting to make sure that the child is successful. So we really embrace this program because it really aligns with what we do in the Head Start programs and the GSRP programs, and we're able to extend a lot of that through the core relationship with the family through this position with the School Success Partnership Program. So we just started in January of 23. So we had just a few months to pilot it, and we're off and running this 23-24 school year, and really excited for reporting on the outcomes next year after we have a full year and a full staff. So it's a great addition to our programming.
Yeah, we had Amy Cannon and Shannon Phelps on, and I have, it looks like episode 11, talking about the School Success Program, Partnership Program. And I was like blown away with Amy, explaining the program. And it's such a great addition, I think, to our programming.
Tons of passion. And it's interesting. A lot of students, it feels like they have so many things around them that make it hard to learn, let alone if your basic needs aren't attended to. So if, you're hungry or you're cold, that makes it hard to learn, let alone, if your Facebook page isn't performing well.
Right.
So being able to address these things like school supplies and those basic needs, I think is wonderful.
And to work in partnership with the staff in the school setting, the counselors and the teachers and the administrative staff, just to be that other person, like you say, that is knowledgeable about area resources, can connect to resources and services as needed, just another support, because we want to do everything we can for children, K-12, and especially in the elementary school, that you want a strong start to your education. And so this position is a part of a network of adults supporting kids in elementary school settings.
Yeah, that's great. Before we move on to our next topic, I'd like to recognize a few NMCAA milestone career achievements. We have Kelly Adams, who's celebrating 10 years with NMCAA, and Tiffany Bright is celebrating 5 years with NMCAA. Thank you both for all you do each day, and thank you for helping your neighbors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're celebrating.
Yes,
Can I add
so.
something?
Yes,
I'm just
absolutely.
interjecting at will here, but it's so interesting. There's been enough episodes now that when we do an episode looking at the annual report, we can reference, for more information, see episode 11, So it's
that's good.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to reference back when you said that about diapering. I wonder, I'm going to go back and find that episode.
I pulled up my list after I said the diapering, and I'm like, I want to make sure I have this handy so that I can reference them.
There are, if I may, a lot of great resources on the show that are free for people to hear and absorb.
Absolutely.
You can listen to this and hear Erica's awesome voice and preparedness and get all this knowledge for free.
Don't rely
Just
on
take
me.
some time.
It's all of our
Just
wonderful guests. It's all of our wonderful
guests.
guests.
That is true. And you are the guest. You can interject whenever you want. NMCAA just completed a new strategic plan in 2023 where the new vision is NMCAA drives the change that strengthens communities where all people have opportunities to achieve their full potential.
I love that vision statement that came out of our full day process with staff and board members. And we spent a lot of time on that, wanting to get the words right. What best represents our vision and who we are. And I love the word communities and strengthening communities. And then in capital letters, you can't see it on the podcast, but it says all people. So where all people have opportunities to achieve their full potential.
Well, before we get into a more formal question, I just want to ask you, that is a difficult process to boil down. I've been a part of this. Erica's been a part of this, to get something that's meaningful. Was there something for you that had to be there? An element of it, not necessarily a word, but for you, of all the things that it probably started with, is there something that just had to be in this?
Well, I think number one, I was really focused on wanting to hear the staff and seeing if we had commonalities, if we could synthesize all the different perspectives into a vision statement that represented all of us. And it was a process, but it was a clear path in which we were all sort of arm in arm walking down it. We had the shared vision. It was just picking the words. Yeah. And so it was really, really a positive experience. And I think everyone is really excited about the end product, both in the vision and mission statement and in the strategic plan. But I think for me, I wanted it to convey an element of community and inclusivity, and recognizing that at one point in all of our lives, we have information that we need. We have additional supports that we need to keep afloat. And we all have that. We share that. And so to have this say all people reflects that idea that this is any one of us at any time. It's our neighbors, it's our parents, it's our friends. We're here to support each other. And I think that comes across.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And having seen that and how important that is to get a message going and to distill the right words, that's exceptional. But can you expand a little bit upon this generally now and talk to us and the listeners about how NMCAA is trying to obtain this vision, make that a reality?
Sure, I will. It's kind of a crux of a lot of different things right now, and I'm really excited. I'm always kind of geekily excited at the beginning of each year because it's a fresh start, and I like to look back and take inventory and then figure out what are the priorities for the coming year. So we're in that position by the nature of the fact that it's January 10th of 2024. We are also, as we've said, implementing a new strategic plan. So excited about the energy behind the strategic plan, about the vision that we have and the mission statement and how we're moving forward. And then also, and it's just a little bit of a spoiler probably for some future podcast conversations,
Cool.
It's our 50th anniversary. So we were formed in 1974. So we're taking all of this right now internally and saying, okay, we have been proud of who we are and what we've done in the community for 50 years. Who do we need to be to best serve in the next 50 years? And so all those things right now feel like we have a track record and we have a history, and we're at a really bright spot for the next 50 years of our organization. And I'm really, really excited about that. And so you read our vision. Our mission statement is to foster positive change by providing opportunities that promote self-sufficiency, improving the quality of life, and building stronger, more connected communities. So those themes of self-sufficiency, quality of life, and connected communities are the things that we really feel strongly are going to create a brighter future for individuals and for our region as a whole. And when you look at the sort of menu of programs that we offer, they really fall into three high-level buckets: economic stability, housing, and education. So when we think of economic stability, we might think of some of our basic needs services, our food programs, some of the support we're able to offer with utility payments and financial management services. When we think about housing, we have our homeless prevention programming, our weatherization programming, home rehab. We know housing is a major issue in our region and across the nation. And then education, we've got the programs that we talked about with early childhood, financial management services. So those three buckets, economic stability, housing, and education, really encompass who we are and where we're trying to have impact.
Thanks for sharing all that, Kerry. I wanted to take a second to jump back. Ryan mentioned, we've all been a part of a strategic plan at one point or another. And as I walked in the door almost a year ago now. That was one of the first things that was like, you were asking, like, let's get to the annual report and let's start doing the strategic planning process. And that's something that I had never done before. And so in my role as a marketing manager, it was really nice to see it all come together, and I kind of came in at the perfect time. And so also, just for anybody out there who doesn't know, it started making sense, I guess, to me when our consultant we worked with explained the difference between what a mission and a vision really are. I've seen them in lots of businesses before, but never really understood it. And so while our vision is what we're striving to achieve, our mission is our daily grind and the things that we do each day to get to that vision. So just if you're out there listening, that's one thing that I took away from that, which I found was very helpful to really understand how we're working towards building better communities and strengthening those communities. So
thanks for just expounding on mission and vision and what they are, because I certainly can't make assumptions. Not everybody is talking about mission and vision all the time that our listeners know. And so I don't want to shortchange anybody about what is that. So thanks for adding that. I appreciate it. And thank you for being on the journey for the last year. You've been just absolutely a wonderful addition and really
you guys are really too much.
Well, it's okay to be genuinely complimentary of one another and get some positive vibes going, because although a lot of the topics on the show have been, heavyish topics, there's always been smiles and solutions, and it's about moving forward, which mission and vision. But it is good to get through some of the like markety talk, no offense, but because people can be like, oh, okay, and start to tune out. I'd like it to be interesting to somebody who maybe has not been a part of that, and to be like, oh, that does mean something, rather than just being boring. So let's switch gears and get back to the 2023 impact data. NMCAA offers workshops and financial coaching services throughout the Financial Management Services Department. And in 2023, we have some data here. 310 households completed budget coaching. 185 households completed homebuyer rental or foreclosure coaching. 237 households completed money management workshops. 100 households completed homebuyer education workshops.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people and a lot of things I think anybody could use help with. I know me personally on a lot of these,
absolutely.
But friends and neighbors getting things that they need.
Yeah, I think workshops are one of the cool things, and budget coaching as well. Homebuyer coaching, all the things that I think those are some really cool things that are hands-on. We're working directly with clients one-on-one. And I think that's a really neat thing that our financial management services department does.
And help that can expand into your life, I think, outside of even that one area.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. When you talk about something that everyone can benefit from, who's budgeting perfectly right now? They could use some support, right? Who wouldn't like to see their credit score go up a little bit, or just to have a certified counselor to just sit with you and look, and even if you're on track, to be able to say, yeah, you're doing the right things here. It's kind of like with home visiting. It's like sometimes we just need to know what it is we're doing right, so we can do more of it.
Yeah.
So, all of the different programming that you mentioned, is critical. And I think it's a service that we can provide the community that can be difficult to find. Financial literacy. And how important is that for young people to learn and to know? Think about student debt. There's lots of different components to this that are applicable to everyone. So I'm really proud of those numbers for the last fiscal year. And just a note on that, one of the programs we offer through Financial Management Services is free tax preparation. Mm-hmm. So our season is kicking off. And in fiscal year 23, we were able to prepare 3,306 completed tax returns, totaling $6.8 million in credits and refunds. So that's a lot of money coming back into the community.
Yeah.
And part of the excitement of FY24, we've set a goal of 5,000 this year. So we'd like to increase from 3,300 to 5,000 this year. So if I can give a little plug for that program and ask people who are interested to call us or visit our website to find out more information, because we're really excited to provide that program. Yeah.
And is there eligibility, like income eligibility for that program?
There is, and it really expands through most low and moderate income households. Okay. So I would recommend
call us.
if you're wondering, give us a call.
Awesome. Yeah, that was actually one of the numbers that I found very interesting on the data that FMS reported as well. The other one that I wanted to mention from FMS was our laundry project partnership with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. We serviced 2,278 people who received free laundry services in fiscal year 2023. So I thought that was pretty incredible as well. I mean, such a basic human need, and to be able
Things
to provide
that sometimes
things.
maybe get missed in the chaos of stress and strain on your life are those things. And you can look back at past episodes again where we've had, leaders in NMCAA or guests talk about, how those little things make a huge difference in their life, either if you don't or do have it.
Yeah, and it might seem not as big as some other things, that we're talking about, but it really is. It's a key component. And to have partners like Eastfield Laundry on 8th Street and TC Laundry on Garfield being willing to participate and provide this service is huge. And if you've been to the laundromat recently, you know how much it costs to do laundry.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of money.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a support that we're happy to be able to provide.
In regards to financial management services, do you have any success stories that can relate to this data to make it feel relatable to our listeners?
Yeah, I do. And it's one of those, a couple of opportunities, a lot of sort of sweat equity from the individual, and then a completely new future for this participant. Her name was Christina, and she enrolled in our individual development account program, which is also known as IDA. Mm-hmm. And she saved for a down payment on a home with Habitat for Humanity. And so she was able to save $1,000 towards her down payment for the house. We were able to match it with IDA through a 3-to-1 match. So we provided $3,000 to her $1,000. And with her savings of $1,000, she was also able to access our down payment assistance program. So she was able to get $6,000 towards owning a home. And she said her experience going through the program was great, and she's learned new things. And this opportunity gave her the opportunity to have a down payment on her first home for her and her girls. She's very grateful, and so she's got a home now in Maple City.
Oh my gosh, that gives me chills.
Holy
I
cow.
just love that.
And she probably, I don't really know, I'm not trying to presuppose, but she probably called NMCAA and said, "This is what I need." And then here she is.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's the thing. If you have a question, call, and somebody will help.
Yeah.
And every episode, we've had people on who are like, "I'm the one who's going to help. Here's my number."
Yeah.
And every time they do it, I'm like, "Why are you doing this?" But that's what you do.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
I love the testimonials. I love being able to share the story behind the numbers. But, we go from a number to an outcome, and there's so much in between, and sometimes it's daunting and sometimes it's stressful. There's hoops to jump through and there's documents to gather, but the perseverance of someone to do that, there at the end of the tunnel, there are great things that can happen, and we're here to support. It really speeds up the process to the good stuff at the outcome. There's a middle there too, but it's all part of the process, and we're with clients every step of the way.
Yeah, that's where those coaches working one-on-one come in. That's such a great thing. I feel like, I mean, like you said, who couldn't benefit from some financial management help? I know I certainly could.
We keep saying that. Is it
Maybe-
just
maybe
because
we
we're
need to
just right
reach-
after Christmas? We should be talking about that.
Yeah, they might need to be your next guest.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think.
we should bring them in.
Well,
say somebody.
if you end up with a
Christmas.
testimonial next year and it's from Ryan,
Yeah.
I'll try to be as innocuous and anonymous as I can. Well, we're running out of time for the episode, but there is more. So please be sure to come back for part 2 of NMCAA by the numbers. But before we wrap things up today, can you remind our listeners who would like to find out more about NMCAA how and where they can do that?
If you want to give us a call, 231-947-3780. Feel free. We can connect you to any program in any of the counties that we serve. It's the starting point. NMCAA.net is our website. You can find all the programs and how to connect there. And then Erica. We have an array of other social media outlets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We get messages on our Facebook page all the time. You can reach out there, or we also have Instagram, X, which is formerly known as Twitter.
Right. Do we have to say that whole thing for a while, or
I don't know.
And if you are not in need of service, but you can go to the website also to potentially volunteer, to donate, things like that, correct?
Correct. Yep. It's the point of engagement. So whether you are looking for a service or you think you have a little bit of time and you want to see if you can connect with our organization to give back to the community, or you would like to support through a donation, you can find all of that on the website.
Yeah. So before we end part 1, I have one question left.
She's not escaping that easy.
It's been a while since you've been on our show, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
And so since you've been on, we've started asking our guests a few fun questions to end the show. So to end part 1, Kerry, if you could choose any spokesperson for NMCAA, who would it be? It could be a celebrity. It could be anybody.
Any spokesperson.
Well, aside from you two,
no pressure.
No pressure. This sounds predictable, maybe not predictable, but when I read the testimonials, it's the people that can share their experience with our program. They're the best spokesperson. We could pick someone that's very recognizable who supports us, and that'd be great. I'm not opposed to that. But I think if you want to talk about something powerful, go into a preschool classroom and record some of the kids talking about their teacher. Right there is the best.
We have that on a list of things that we need to do, Ryan.
Do you?
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh, yes, we do. But can we address that answer for a second?
Yeah.
Because, wow.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was a fantastic answer.
I was maybe expecting the one answer we've gotten a bunch.
Who's that?
Taylor Swift.
The one and only Taylor Swift has been mentioned multiple times.
And it's not a setup. This is organic. So there is something to this. I mean, she's can we say she's pretty successful at this point, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But your answer was, I think, probably the best answer in all sincerity anybody could have given. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that was
Well, if Taylor Swift had gone through one of our Head Start programs, then I would have picked her too.
Okay, still kind of counts as a side vote.
Side vote.
Well, Kerry, thank you again for joining us. We look forward to having you back for part 2, and we tremendously appreciate you taking the time to be here with us again today.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, we'd like to share your community stories regarding NMCAA. If you have a story you'd like to share about how NMCAA has impacted your life, send us an email at collectiveuspodcast@nmcaa.net.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please hit the like, follow, or share button. It truly helps us continue to get the word out on all the good NMCAA does in the community.
And if you'd like to learn more about Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency or the programs we offer, or would like to make a donation, we encourage you to reach out at 231-947-3780 or visit our website, nmcaa.net. And to our listeners today, we encourage you to continue to strive each day to do something to help yourself or your neighbors.